Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode number 22 of the D.M.C Podcast with your hosts, me, Adam Rigby, and the legend, the statuesque figure of athleticism, poise, and virtuosity, Mr. Cody Hunter.
Mate, that was so.
I don't know what that was inspired by, bro.
Mate, that is called emotion. Motion creates emotion. That's a prime example of what we were just saying before.
Wow.
We're like, well, got to get fired up with this one, mate. That does the job, bro. That works, mate.
Wow.
That's some Bruce Buffer action right there, mate. I felt like a UFC fighter.
Buffer, what a guy.
Bruce
we
Banner.
just took it to holy level, mate. How are you? How are
I'm
you?
good, mate. I am good. As you know, it's been a big little week for me. Lots going on, lots happening. Some ends to some parts of the journey and some beginnings to a new one. It's just going to get a little bit crazy for the next month or two, But mate, it's been really good times at the moment. Loving it.
Oh, good to hear, mate. As one door closes, another one will inevitably open. It's the next part of your journey, and it's exciting. And you know the great thing, you're on the right path when people share the joy in the next step that you're taking. So there's a lot of joy around. I mean, it's up to you to explain to the peeps, Codes, what the F is happening, man? Why don't we spill a little bit? What's going on, bro?
Well, mate, I suppose, as of last week, today's the equivalent of today, which is Friday NZ time, is my last day of my current job. So from today onwards, I'll be not today onwards, but I'm actually accepted a new role with a new company up in Auckland. So I'm moving the family and myself to Auckland in the next 3 to 4 weeks. Wow. From Christchurch, where we're based right now. And I've really enjoyed the last couple of years with the company that we have been at. It's been awesome, great people. And like I said to my new employer, there's nothing wrong with where I currently am. It's just missing one little tiny piece of the puzzle, which is something relating to health, wellness, fitness, gyms, and all that sort of area, which is now that piece of the puzzle has now been filled. So fired up, mate, very fired up. I get a chance to talk with people all day about gyms, their business, how to help them succeed, how to get things set up, get in the right gear, mate. It's all good stuff. It's all very good stuff.
And that's 1,000% you, eh?
1,000%, yeah.
We talk about getting that balance right and being able to drift in and out of things you're passionate about and fill your cup in other ways, but to see you fulfill that side of what's very important to you, and it surges through your veins, to be able to find that position, or for that position to be able to find you, mate. I'm super happy for you, super proud of you also for taking that step, because change is always hard to embrace, mate, but you take it on the chin, and what a chin it is, ladies and gentlemen. Look at the state of it. Look, if anybody was to take anything on the chin, mate,
it is this one, mate. But you're right. We were planning on moving to back to big cities anyway, pretty soon. Yep. We really do miss the city vibes, and Auckland was obviously a big appeal to us. So timing, opportunity, as you said, it just popped into the radar. Not necessarily looking for anything or anything like that, but you know how things are, like that whole intention of just having your eyes up and aware and seeing things happen around you, and things do happen. And it sort of popped up and was like, oh, hold on. That's something that I'm very interested in. So, good result, mate. Very happy with the result, and everyone's
great result, mate. Great result. Yeah. And it's funny, because I mean, your life down in Christchurch, you built a name for yourself. It was comfortable, but the as soon as you went up to Auckland and you and I had a chat about it, you're like, yeah. Like you knew where you needed to be, and I think from that moment, everything started to fall into place. And as was always talked about, you've got to throw the vibes out there. And when you set the intention, mate, it's amazing what can happen. And hey, presto, look at you. The ability to wear tracksuit pants and tight tanks.
Mate, you know it. And although we promised, remember, mate, we did promise that when we had a certain amount of subscribers, there'd be a topless episode. And I'm actually I'm pretty close to being able to do that, mate. So she's all worked around quite nicely. Like I'm just not tanned yet, but we're close, mate. We're waiting.
We're waiting with bated breath, mate.
I need some tanning. Once the tanning comes on board, a little bit of pro-tan, mate.
I've got some good products, mate. Bondi Sands, apparently, so I've been told. I'm not. Yeah, so I've been told. Someone told me that. I don't know who it was. Someone told me that. But...
No. Good stuff, mate.
Mate. So look, the interesting thing, as you say, when you do look at moving on, even the language from you in speaking to your boss, who was my boss, he was super happy for you. But knowing also with a tinge of sadness, losing a powerful, positive role model in your workplace is always difficult and challenging. But you should always want the best for people, and you should also always know them enough to say, man, that is where you belong. Just go chase it. And also the thought of getting that Stairmaster, we'll discuss that in my garage. So we're looking forward to that, mate.
Home gym, baby.
A home gym. And you won't, you won't have to spend a fortune on 20 kg plates for me. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's right, mate. Yeah.
You won't be sending me many.
You don't need many, mate. Just the pink dumbbells, mate. You got plenty of those.
Do you lift, mate, bro? It's how you lift. It's the intensity. It's the intensity. Anything can have intensity. It doesn't matter how heavy it is or how small it is. It is the intensity. So massive positive changes, seeing the bright side and everything, Pete's, as Cody moves on to the next step of his destiny, being able to help people full scale, get into organizations and give them equipment that is going to help people on a greater scale, serving the greater purpose, the high purpose of well-being and health and fitness. Man, power to you, bro. I know you'd be successful in pretty much anything that you put your mind to, and having a family behind you that are full guns, ready to go and commit to that part of your journey.
Yeah, mate.
Perfect, mate. And you and I will see each other more too, bro, because I go up to all.
We 100% more.
Go down to the chair. It could be some nice little meetings there in on the North Shore of the 09.
Got to be done, mate.
Certain other suspects.
Yeah, mate. There's a good crew up there. Yep.
There is a good crew. I mean, you surround yourself with good crews, and experiencing the benefit of that, and you spend your time hanging out with people, and then all of a sudden they say, hey, it's time to introduce you to other people, and I love that, how the network grows, and that's what we're there to do. I firmly believe that we are there to connect and find each other, people who are on the same wavelength and have the same energy and the same power, and also the realization, sometimes it's great that you can wander through life and then you meet someone that potentially in other walks of life you had never met, but this is our job, to connect the dots, and we're all little dots, to bring people together, people that love and care about you. What's better than getting them to meet each other, people that you talk about in circumstances, and isn't it great when you go and meet someone and they go, oh, look, I've heard a lot about you. And hopefully most of it is good, by the way. But to be able to meet and connect, and again, you share that passion and wavelength with people is pretty cool. So, mate, you'll get a good little network, which will become a big network. Obviously, there'll be some gyms. I spoke to Glenn. I saw Glenn Ostergaard recently up in Auckland, and I said, look out for the big man.
Said, true.
Mate. I said that guy would crawl 1,000 miles over broken glass to lift stuff up and put stuff down, mate. So, so that's another connection. And go and catch up with him. Obviously, there'll be a lot of stuff through the Les Mills world, but also the community that you meet up there. So the Fitspo community up in the 09, look out.
Here we go.
for you. Chunky
coming
English
in
coming
hot,
for you.
mate.
Yeah,
When you
look
talk
out for
about
the D.M.C merch.
when you talk about those sort of connections, the other day I was talking to one of my online clients who I coach online, and he mentions to me, he goes, "Oh, I was talking to to the person who actually introduced us." So again, someone I know who listens to the podcast, by the way, she put him in contact with me. So now we're working together. And he said he was having dinner with her the other day, and she goes, "I'm pretty sure Cody and Adam were talking about you the other day on his podcast, like an example of someone, or how we tell stories and stuff." And he's like, "Huh?" And he goes, "I don't know if you were, but he goes, I haven't listened to the podcast yet, but I suppose I better start now if you're using me, for example." So I said, "Hey, mate, anything comes out, we may have talked about, we may have mentioned a story or part of a journey. I'm not sure at all." But yeah, it was just quite funny, like those whole like little connections everywhere. It's such good stuff. And you're right, it just happens everywhere.
Mate, well, I think the chat we had last week about tall poppy syndrome, I love that. I love the chat that came out, and I also love the positivity and just turning around that negative to positive, getting everybody to embrace what can be a negative philosophy in such a positive way and turn it around. I thought that was a super cool chat. So if you haven't checked it out, peeps, if this is your first potty, obviously if you want to go back to number 1, you do that. But if you want to check out some stuff about tall poppy, and how not to be a dick, how to inspire people, then that's the one. But I think the overwhelming thing that people have come back to me and probably to you too is the willingness for us just to talk about stuff in our life. People say, "Are you okay to talk about stuff like that?" And of course, it's just real. And what I've learned is the more that we talk, the more comfortable you are, the deeper you get, the more layers that you peel through and the more you can share. And I think that's really, really important. Especially what I've seen a lot of lately is a lot about mental health, a lot about suicide prevention, a lot about the people that are struggling, that seemingly have nowhere to go, a lot about the attitudes that she'll be right, you'll be fine, pat on the back, harden the fuck up, which is completely the opposite. But one thing I can tell you, that the benefits of just sitting down and having someone to talk to, or being the person that someone can talk to, there's magic. There's absolute magic in that. And you've got to give it time, because talked a little bit about the momentum, but it's the same with conversations, I find, because you've got to just establish that conversational connection first with someone. So you can get someone that you slowly start to break down barriers with. You might have your go-to person for chats. Some people are fortunate enough to have that already. So just try, and what you've got to do is break through the superficial stuff, and the little giggles and the lack of eye contact by assuming eye contact, and starting to connect about some deeper stuff. And holy shit, it's amazing what comes out. Even to the regard with especially the people you are closest to, because that becomes critical mass. Some of the conversations that we don't have to the people we care most about. I've had some wonderful chats. Had an amazing chat with my mother recently, and she's struggling. She's getting older. Her hearing is failing. She's getting frustrated about a whole lot of stuff. And I was there just to tell her that that's okay. That it's up to us to be able to find ways to help her. It's up to us to focus on what she can do and celebrate that, and not to have her up on what we can't do. Because you imagine it, like I say, we're the same soul, we're the same energy, we have the same power. We're trapped inside this body, and that's why we move. That's why we have a commitment to move and stay active and stay healthy, that it will last a long time, and it gives us the ability to be able to celebrate the soul and the energy and share that. The day that it starts to shut down, it's like being in a slow car in the fast lane. Everybody's behind you tooting, just get out of the way. So yeah, having probably the deepest, most connected chat I've ever had to my mum, who's a rock star, was just amazing. And because I thought, man, I'm out there talking to people all the time, having amazing chats. And have I ever taken the time to sit down? I've done how I've told Mum I love her 1,000 times, but just being able to sit and really deep dive into some stuff that we don't do, because you just spend so much time, you take for granted, oh, they're like me, they do this, I know them. But do you know their deepest thoughts, desires, fears? Get into it, peeps. It's amazing if you just take the opportunity to explore.
Mate, we so funny. I was just thinking that I had a good conversation with my mother too recently. And that's funny you say that. And we were talking a lot about, because again, it takes practice. These conversations and going deep takes a lot of practice. And the more you bring up those difficult things that may have happened, or stories or things that you want to get deep into, the easier it becomes to talk about. You can go a little bit deeper, a little bit further, maybe inquire a little bit more, right? Like it takes these little bit of steps. So when we're talking about the passing of my father, for example, it was never dealt with. And we talked about that with Jace during that podcast, where there were no tools given to us, to try to deal with that. And then my mother's way of protecting us is to do nothing, is to like shut it down and almost like act as if everything's just back to normal, in a way. So we're talking about that the other day, and she's like, look, I just didn't know what to do. And so we're getting real deep into that whole time, that whole period, and how that a lot of the stuff is just now being unpacked, like 30 odd years later. And yeah, again, just more and more practice, and more like for me, the last time I was together with my family was the first time I'd ever heard a lot of information about what had happened during the entire situation. As like as a 40-year-old, I hadn't heard anything until that period, and that's how long it had kind of been, not necessarily hidden, but just not talked about. I'm like, holy shit, really? Like I didn't know any of this stuff. But again, more practice, more talking, more conversation. My brothers and I never talked about it for years growing up because we didn't know anything. And then so it's great, and I think we have to talk about it more and more and more, and get comfortable with it more and more. And it's just, I think, like anything, it's practice. It's purposeful practice, and just building up that whole, the confidence around it and everything around it. And for me, it's been awesome. I would say it's a 10-year journey for me. Before that was kind of just like shut down and visible. But the last 10 years, it's probably been a really big journey from the start of like, we need to unpack this a little bit, to actually now just being able to, have yarns and talk about it and explore without, wanting to shut the door real tight again, lock it. Like, nope, don't lock it up. It's like, no, let's leave it open now. I think we can open it wide open. We're good. We've done little cracks. We've done little bits of shares. We've done this. I think we just blast it open, and there we go. Let's just chat on. It's so good, But I do encourage that, to really find the right people. I think that you can get some practice and talk about it. And if they're not the right person, you'll probably know pretty quick. But yeah, find the right people and just share more, bro.
Yeah, mate, it's amazing because, you talk about traumatic events, and everybody has them in life, but all you can see is through your eyes and through your experience, the way you dealt with it. No one goes back and says, like we talked about before, the dad issues, like when your dad didn't come home, or when my father decided to leave. I was sad, but did I, have I ever sat down and said, Mum, how did you feel about that? All I knew that she was upset and she was crying as we stood on the doorstep, So, that was shit, but in my mind, it was my pain. I absorbed, I carried a lot of that. And so, just to be able to sit down, and even if you've been through that type of trauma, have you discussed it with the ones closest to you, especially, your parents or your siblings? Have they actually figured it out? Has the fact that you've been able to make sense of a couple of things, would it be better if you maybe sounded it out and talked about that? I think, it's overwhelmingly positive outcomes in the majority of circumstances. But what I'm finding, which can be quite freaky for some people, is, man, I'm in there. Fuck, I'm in there. I'm like not like one of those bad news reporters with a microphone. My empathy is an all-time high. So you can tell body language, and when you start to talk about stuff, and I think that's the time to really start to, not aggressively but passively, just sit down, give people time to digest, absorb, and maybe express some of the stuff. Everybody moves at different speeds. It may be through experience. It may be a cultural divide that means they hold on to information or react a certain way in different circumstances. So we've got to be mindful of that type of stuff. So just start to unfold the story, get the story behind the person. It may help you with the ability to better help them and understanding how you need to have that discussion openly. I fucking love it. Talking with people is just it has become just this passion of mine. It's a true passion, the opportunity just to learn stuff about them and therefore about myself, to be able to help people in just the smallest of ways, to see people have light bulb moments, or to connect with people on a deeper level, and the recognition that, you know, some of the stuff that they're feeling or thinking isn't, you know, you're not a weirdo, that there are people just like you. And so we should embrace those differences, celebrate them, and give each other the opportunity to talk about them. And that's what it is, you know, all of that anxiety and stress and just hanging on to stuff, just carrying all of that weight. We talk about it so many times. Carrying the weight, you can get rid of it word by word, letter by letter. So if you can be that person for someone in your life, or if you feel as though you are carrying weight and you need someone to talk to, there are people you can talk to personally and professionally. Now, professionally, if you don't feel comfortable talking to someone in your own life, there are some amazing helplines and people you may be able to talk to. But it takes a certain level of bravery to be able to do that. You know, even asking for help at times, it's not a sign of weakness. Okay, it's just asking for help. There's nothing wrong with asking for help or direction, especially if it can get you to where, again, last week, you are meant to be, celebrating everything that you have great in your life. I had a great chat with my daughter, and we talk about, you know, the anxiety for youth about what the future will look like. They're talking about whether it's property or the world. You know, if you want to travel, well, nowadays, no problem, you could go travel. The smell of an oily rag now, travel. Geez, we can't even get out of the country. You know, so what does the future look like when you should be successful? You should have this, you should do this. People start to just stop and the wheels are turning non-stop. And look, when it comes down to it, and I shared this with a class actually, even in the middle of a physical experience or externally in your life, what does rock bottom look like? And we can go to a very dark place, but I want to put something in the way. I want to put a little filter and something that's going to catch you. For the majority of people. But essentially, I think everybody has someone that cares about them. All right. And we may not recognize who they are, but everybody has someone who loves, appreciates, and cares for you, who will be that warm, opening pair of arms if you are in trouble. Do you have a warm bed to go back to? Majority again is yes, but is there a level or a layer of comfort that will catch you when you fall? Majority again, the answer will be yes. If that is rock bottom, you know, and I look at rock bottom, I know if I lose everything, but again, losing everything is different to me compared to what society says is everything. Money, I couldn't give a shit about all of these superficial stuff. You know what? Because I've got an amazing support network of friends and a family who know me and care about me, and I know that I can fall back and trust that they will look after me, even in a moment of sadness or darkness. You know, there's a couple of things that are coming up in my future which will test that to the fullest, you know, as life progresses. And I'm preparing myself, but in the process preparing others who may face similar circumstances. What does rock bottom look like? Remember that filter in between. It's not a deep, dark pit of despair. There are people who care about you, who will protect you, who will not allow you to fall, but you've got to recognize them and you've got to be able to reach out. So please do that. If you are in trouble, if you think there is no way out, if you can't take another step, then guess again. Just look around, just spread your level of consciousness a little wider, spread your net a little wider. Recognize there are people that love and care for you. okay, that becomes the new rock bottom, and that's okay. And what that allows us to do is, we can, if it stops there in that buffer, there's warmth and there's a little bit of safety and security to say, it's okay to be down because I have these things. It's gratitude. But also, it's okay for me to take risks, to take chances, to push myself on opportunities, to really fucking grab life by the horns and go for it. Because if I trip up and fall, do you know what? The first thing is going to be, there's going to hand there to say, come on, mate, up you get. You can do this. Quick hug, we're back in.
Yeah, mate.
That's what I love, mate.
Oh, I love
full gas.
It's the so yeah, I got two brothers who are, we're very close now, but we grew up, the three of us grew up in a different stages of our journey. There's a bit of a 3-year age gap between me and my oldest brother, and 2 between the youngest. And we went through all this big journey. But mate, I know, like, I speak to each of those men every day. If not both of them, definitely at least one of them. And it wasn't always like that, obviously. And in school, in high school, mate, we were sworn enemies. The fighting, the arguments, the torment, the bullying, everything about it was just crazy chaos. And funnily enough, when you're talking about before, my older brother, once we understood his story, because again, he's 3 years older, so his whole journey through our upbringing and what was going on in the early days, we didn't know anything about that. All we remembered was him being a complete arsehole and the biggest bully you've ever seen on the planet. To me and my brother and my friends, no one would visit our house because he would beat the shit out of them, and just like, he was so nasty to everybody. And it wasn't until, again, later years, where you have some drinks together, you sit around and you share, in the circle, the group, the breakout group around the bonfire, and you're finally sharing all these things. You're like, holy shit, I did not think about any of this from your perspective. All I thought about was mine, the pain I was feeling because you were an asshole, but we didn't think about where it comes from, right? And wow, what an amazing way to clear that shit out. Just like you said, the words, the talks, get rid of that, and understand what his journey was. And then the most coolest thing, we talked about that in the 4 agreements, like be impeccable with your word. And how often do we make people relive their mistakes, relive the shit they put onto us? And so every time we'd get together, we'd go back to talk about how much of an asshole he was at school. And remember that time you burnt the guitar, you set it on fire after you said you'd give it to me and shit like this. And then now I come to realize, I'm like, what a bunch of dicks. Like, what a shit family that you come together, and we're not those people anymore. He's not that person anymore at all. He's loving, supportive. Again, he's the hand that would pick any of us up in 2 seconds if something went down. He would drive here in about, without any, battering an eyelid, whatever it would take, he would be there. And it's like, and then we just get together and make him relive those things that he's probably doesn't even remember. So that 4 agreements, which again, this is not a long time journey, it's quite recent. It just sort of puts everything in perspective. Like, holy shit, that's got to stop. We don't just come together and relive and make someone feel bad around you for all the shit they put on you when they were kids. That's done now. That's unpacked. Like, let's get over that shit, and let's carry on, because you just can't continue to relive it. It's crazy talk, and it's really cool to be able to get rid of that and just start that fresh journey and just be supportive and talk about really cool shit all the time. It's awesome.
Yeah, you're right. And there are people, and I have told people that if you need me, I will be there. And you're one of those people, right? And it's not as if you stub your toe and you call me and say, Adam, can you arrange a flight down to Christchurch? Come and see me and help me because I've got a sore toe. It's not one of those things at all. But the fact that what I need you to know is there is someone that cares about you that deeply and will be there for you. It's the expression and the sentiment involved. And is it true that I would be there? Fucking 100%. It's not something that I throw out because I read it in a book. It's a statement that I tell to people I care deeply about, because I need them. I want them to know that there is part of their safety net, that if it comes to rock bottom, do you know what? My arms are going to be one of the first pair that darts out to catch you. So we need to take the responsibility to share that type of information with the people that we care about. If you see people struggling that you care about, just let them know that you're part of the support network for them.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Get them chatting. Man, some massive learnings, I think, especially too, about the way that males deal with stuff, right? I mean, we are warriors, we are hunters, we are gatherers. We are not here for emotion and hugs. We're there to hit things and kill things and fight.
Yeah.
And mate, we're way smarter than that now as men start to converse but you know, we are not built to deal with things like emotion. We express it in way different ways, and it's been suppressed for so long, not just for years. And we can't fix that type of shit in a day, a week, a year, a month, probably a decade or a century, but we need to chip away at it. And so we're talking to people about our feelings, how we feel, what we're thinking is important, because we the males go our outlets now. Unfortunately, you know, with emotions, you know, guys express emotions differently. They have this desire, the sexual desire, which is not necessarily healthy, right? It's not the way that we should express love or emotion, but sometimes that's what we feel is the only outlet. And of course, there's violence, which is fucking horrible. We need to be in touch with that side of ourselves that says it's okay to express love and it's okay to connect on a way deeper level, especially to the splendid creatures that are the female of the species, who in my belief are made in the image of God and should be treated as such and cherished. They bring life into the world. What is more spectacular than that? What do? Carry stuff. We carry stuff. And you know what, like, you know, the funny thing is, women I believe would do, and history's proven us correct, doing a spectacular job in running businesses in countries, and they're helping us think a way different way, way more women in power, which is fantastic and amazing, and it's going to create contentious debate. Of course it is. Why? Because that's centuries old bullshit, right? You know, but you look at the Cleopatras of this world, and power corrupts too. Power corrupts. You know, even women get men and build armies, and they create generals, and generals end up in power, and then it's that reversal, that struggle, and it becomes about strength. It doesn't become about emotion. It doesn't become about connection. It just becomes about overpowering. And that's, you know, that can be what the males of today are unfortunately a byproduct of, just a warrior mentality, and it's fucked. It's so fucked.
Well, there's a lot of it, I suppose, even these days, it's almost some of it is almost the flip side again too, that way, where now it's like anything masculine needs to disappear. It's almost like, to some areas, it's the exact opposite, you know, where it's like, men need to stop kind of being men, you know, which is, some of those qualities are very important. And, you know, and then we need to like tip it all over, and then the roles are sort of changing and people are changing. And, it's just, there's too much to dig into today.
Bro, this is a wormhole, and this is here we go.
I was like, holy shit, hold on, you know, it's
up.
But you know, it's quite hard, and you do, like, I know that we're trying to shut down all these the man up philosophies and stop doing that, but then again, there are still things that there's still, just like if we were tell someone, you know, there's qualities and there's things that we have and that are instilled in us that are very important and are needed. But then, and to some extremes, they're being smashed out of society of like, no, you know, no, stop trying to be a boy. Like, don't be a man. Like, don't try to pretend you're shooting someone with a stick when you're 2 years old and you have no idea why you're doing it, but you're still doing it because that's what, you don't watch war movies. It's just, there's so many things that are ingrained. But I want to teach my son to be a man. Now, of course, a respectful man that's got great values and understands the world, but I don't want him to think that it's wrong to be a man, because it's not. And he shouldn't really believe that, you know, and hide away because he shouldn't be able to be himself, you know. And it's just an interesting time. There's lots of things that are going through changes, obviously, in the now and the future, and young generations. It's going to be interesting how the world pans out in the next 20, 30, 40 years for these young fellas.
Well, there are great examples of every species, and there are appalling examples of every species. Unfortunately, history dictates that there are more appalling because they have bigger impact. But the majority, what can we do? We can be respectful, we can be supportive, we can offer strength at the right time. We can use our strength in the right way. We can be there as fathers. We can stand up and protect people, not destroy people. Our job is to build people up, not put people down. Our job is to work together to build stronger communities, right? To build connections, support networks, to know that the people around us are supported, and we will do everything. It's like that primal urge, you felt it, mate. We talked about it when your baby comes into this world, when it's delivered, you feel that, you feel that, right? That's what it is to be a man. Yeah. That is what it is, to serve and protect. That's our superpower. That's what it is to be a man, and we don't have to shy away from that. It's how we articulate it and talk about it. That's right. And to my dying day, I will serve and protect those beautiful females that I have in my life without a word of a lie. I know what I'm here to do, to look after them, to protect them in any way, but also to promote them, to inspire them, to be the absolute best they can be, not to live in the shadow of me or anybody else, male or female, right? But to cast their own light. Yeah, that's all we should do. Male or female, mate. Male or female, stand up, be counted, be proud of who you are. And look, all I say, some words of advice to any young men out there: man up. You want to know what being a man is? Being a man is being there, being present. Being a man is being able to talk openly, showing up. Being a man is holding the door open, regardless of whether that's accepted or not. Regardless is helping people across the street. Regardless is carrying stuff. Who gives a fuck? Be a gentleman, right? Regardless is being a man is taking responsibility for your own actions and accountability. Being a man is opening up and talking about your feelings. That is manly. That is sexy.
Yeah, baby.
That is sexy. And for women out there, just train them. If there are things that the young man or old man in your life, you don't have to put up with it. Train them. Tell them how you feel, what you think. Okay, this is the important thing. We're not psychic,
okay? We're not psychic. We can't read minds. We are not. People cannot read minds.
We is done simples. We is done simples. We pick stuff up. We put stuff down. But give us credit and for the opportunity that we have to learn or to want to learn and to be better. Give the man in your life the opportunity. Now, if he is a complete fuckwit, you'll find out, okay? And if he is, you don't deserve that shit, for goodness sake. But if you care enough about someone, and you want to help them develop in life and grow, there are a couple of things that you say, man, that's not cool. That's not acceptable. You don't have to put up with dumb shit. And it's not enough to say, oh, I do that because my dad did it or my uncle did it. Get fucked. Man up. Man up and woman up.
Love it.
Let's look after it. Listen, shit, mate. What happened to this conversation? Holy shit. Woo! This is what happens after a day of cold tablets.
There you go, mate. You're just on another level. But mate, I'll tell you what, I think mate, good chats, brother. Good chats, brother. I know there's lots of learnings to be done and to continue doing, of course, and it's awesome, mate. It's awesome. Mate, the thing is too, I think that people are going to hear this and go, oh, fuck, but that's the beauty of it, bro. We're just going to we just say it like it is, mate. This is what we think. This is how we feel. It's not set in stone. And that's the important things of conversations. Hear things that are a little uncomfortable. Yeah. Test your own theories. Test the stuff that you have learned that has been handed down to you by someone else. It may be correct. You may hear people that will challenge it. That's the wonderful thing about the conversation. Cody Hunter, sorry. Mate, but that's and that needs to be encouraged now, my bro, because we are getting to a point where people can't have a debate or a conversation, because if you disagree with me, then you're offending me and we need to shut this down. I need to cancel you because I don't agree with that. But it's like, well, no, it's just an opinion. We're just sharing our thoughts. It's awesome. That's what brings life and brings conversation and builds things, is to be able to have a mature conversation or debate about something. And if you disagree with something, then cool. That's no worries at all. That's you believe what you believe and I believe what I believe, or whatever. But we can't stop having the conversations, bro. That's the main thing. You've got to have the combos.
We talk. When we talk, we learn. When we learn, we grow. And it's the growth that is the beautiful thing about being a human being. It's a celebration of all things we are, just tapping into that potential. Old Goggins, you know, if we're at 40%, imagine just tapping into a little bit of that 60% of opportunity, just to be able to even think about stuff. You know, it might be, you can look at it like, oh, that's physical. If it's intellectual, if it's spiritual, you know, there's growth, there's room for development in every aspect of our lives. And that's why we say about gratitude. You know, we talk about gratitude. People will go to their, you know, their go-to, whether it's the physical. I'm grateful for the fact that I could, you know, do 50 press-ups, or I'm grateful for, you know, I'm spiritual. I'm grateful for my ability to connect to people. But yeah, be prepared to challenge yourself in different aspects of your life. You'll do that through conversation. It's amazing how, you know, you can find common ground, you can find uncommon ground, you can be inspired. Someone can talk about something that they are passionate about, and nothing greater than hearing someone talk about those things that really, really inspire them. And like I say to my wife, you know, she was in a conversation and she pumps me up. Like, I'm like, oh, please don't. Talks about some of the stuff that I've achieved, but for me, it's compared to having children, get out of here. But the thing is that she didn't understand is she actually inspired me to do a lot of the things that I've done. And my mindset was to work as hard as I possibly could to do her proud in those moments. Rather than, like we say, you know, relationships or friendships aren't a competition, but actually acknowledging the part that people play, like that tall poppy syndrome. You know, being inspired to take up something like, whether it's triathlon or sport or you know, even a spiritual part of your journey, and acknowledging it, saying, well, you were the reason that I did that, and you were the reason, you know, that I really pushed hard, and you may think I excelled, but it was all really for you. You know, it was all really for you. It wasn't an effort to try and show off or be number one. It was just to be the best I could possibly be, and for her to be proud of me in those moments. And she was, because she still talks about it, which is amazing, eh? Which
Love
is
it,
amazing.
It's awesome, my man. Well, team, I think that's us for today, bro? We've got the day's still not done, but it's a special day. There's some special things happening. So it's been a crazy week. So I think I got to get back out into the world. But team, thank you all for tuning in. Like Adam said, if you haven't checked out the other episodes, please do. Like, subscribe, do everything, do all the good stuff, but don't stop, never stop having those DMCs.
I was going to break into the don't stop believing, but mate, Mr. Cody Hunter, as you move into the next stage of your life, just grateful for you, the opportunity that we had, the purpose for you coming to the business that you've just moved out of was for, you know, us to connect, to take on those positive vibes, and gratitude for you and everything you've added. Yeah, you'll be missed, but I'm going to celebrate every day that I get to spend with you, mate, and the impact you've had. And I'm excited for the impact that you have moving forward. Congratulations on taking that step, which is difficult. Peeps, we love you so much. The level of support is outrageous. You guys are courageous. Remember, have those conversations. Get out, be the person, you know, be part of the safety net, let people know, acknowledge, but also be brave enough to share stuff.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so
you share,
connect,
people will
learn,
follow.
and grow. Yeah, absolutely, mate. Thank you so much, team. This is the D.M.C Podcast, episode number 22. We love you. Peace.